Another set of advices would relate to nutrition. And I think many diseases come either from problems with nutrition or from related to nutrition, like behaviors. It would be very important to have at least like 2 or 3 meals, and don't miss your meals. For example, you should have your breakfast, your lunch, for example, and maybe a light dinner. Some people consider that there should be like 12-hour stop between meals to allow some fasting, to allow for positive like ketosis, light ketosis. It may be positive. I'm not sure about this, but at least it's not like harming you. So when you miss meals, it means that you will overeat at some point, and usually it happens during the dinner. But the energy, like our organism is clever. It's like it wants to preserve energy, and everything that is ingested will not go out if it's possible to get the energy out. Instead, it will go in the fat tissue, you know? That's this energy preservation learns over evolution. So another problem that relates to nutrition is biliary stones, stones in the gallbladder. Gallbladder is made to collect bile and usually gets secreted right into the intestine when you have ingestion of fats. Whenever a person, it's usually, I don't know why, but it relates to women in their 40s, and they have a behavior when in their diets they don't have much fat. It means you don't have constant like evacuation of bile from the gallbladder.
Okay.
And it persists there.
And this can lead to stones?
And eventually, it consolidates and it leads to stones. So in order to avoid like a gallbladder problem, you should like ingest fat at some intervals, but like today, tomorrow, etc. But it should be. If not, you'll have a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it sort of runs counter to what you hear a lot in diet advice nowadays, where they sort of rail against carbohydrates and fats. And
it's another misconception. The excess, like weight, it doesn't come from excess consumption of fat. Very rarely, it comes from excess consumption of light carbohydrates that are so popular today. You see. And probably women, they think differently about this problem, and that's why they prefer carbohydrates to fat, because they think they will get fat because of eating fat products.
Okay, so your belief or your hypothesis is that the large amount of women in their 40s experiencing stones is related to that behavior, that diet.
I don't know, you know,
it's
but
just a possibility.
In medicine you have like 4F. You have famine, fat, fertile, in their 40.
Okay, and that is a demographic that is just susceptible to.
That's what you observe. Also, it's important to talk about the composition between protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Yeah, usually it's 1-1-4. You have like 1 portion of fat, 1 portion of protein, and 4 portions of carbohydrates. And carbohydrates should be complex. Yeah, it shouldn't be like sweets. And they're very important because our intestine, as I've said, they have a lot of bacteria in them, and they also need something to eat. And usually it's complex carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables that serve like as some kind of food for them. Yeah. Another problem, it relates to kidney stones. And why do they form? It's a bit different mechanism, like from biliary stones. Usually you find stones in people who consume a lot of meat products and don't drink enough water. It's very complex but very interesting mechanism, and it's proven. When you ingest a lot of meat products, your blood basically becomes more acidic, and you need to compensate this. And you do this by taking calcium out of the bones, like to the level of acidity, and you get more calcium that goes through kidneys, and eventually it precipitates, and there is a stone formation.
So just drinking more water or cutting down on meat consumption?
Yeah, general advice is to drink at least 2 liters of water and to decrease consumption of meat products. Basically, it's eventually diet that leads to formation of stones. Also, nowadays we have like diseases such as autoimmune diseases, rheumatology, like rheumatoid arthritis, like systemic lupus erythematosus, and many others. There is a very famous term in medicine. It's called like idiopathic.
Okay.
You know what this means?
Yes, I've heard that. Is that where it's? Could you actually give me a refresher? I don't want to give the
Basically,
wrong
it means
definition
that.
in front of the camera.
Yeah, sure. Basically, it means that we don't know why the disease is happening. You know, we don't understand the cause of it, and you apply this term like to many diseases. But there is recent research that shows that these diseases develop as a result of the diet we follow. That is to say, the diet of today is very different of the diet that existed like 2.5 million ago, or over this period of millions of years. It has changed, you know. And when you have a different diet, you develop different like family of bacteria in your intestine that potentially can like provide lead to inflammation. Inflammation leads to other set of like reactions, etc. It's a very complex subject. I don't want to go deeper into it. But if a person has a autoimmune or rheumatological diseases, or the cause of the disease idiopathic, it possibly would be a good idea to start like digging into a different direction and trying like to change in like dietary habits.
Okay.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, and that's another reason why I could see it being such idiopathic diseases being more common among poorer populations who can't exactly control their diet.
Yeah, for example, or their diet is unbalanced. So generally, advice is to follow a balanced diet, yeah, and it's not an easy task.
No, I mean, even if you have the financial resources, it's so time-consuming and it takes a certain amount of willpower that...
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And as we said, we start thinking about health when we lose it, yeah.
Yeah, of course, and I mean, I know I drink too much coffee, for example, but that's so... I need it in order to maintain my, I suppose you could say, economic independence and sense of dominance over my life, so...
Possibly,
Yeah, so that's something that I need to work on myself, so...
All right, so let us continue like with a couple more advices.